Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. Droid Life Show today, episode 163. It is Friday, January 26th. I'm your host, Kellen. With me, Tim. Tim's here.
Hey guys, how's it going? Tim here.
So thanks for joining us. A couple of big topics to start off the show with. Galaxy S9 all over the place. We know when it's coming. We think we got our first official press renders of it today. So there's lots to react to there. We want to talk about LG because there seems to be lots of confusion going on with LG. A week ago, even though we didn't have a show last week, we showed you what we believe to be Motorola's entire lineup for most of the year. So we'll talk about that and recap that. Just some other stuff like Google I/O. We know when that's going down too. So there was some big stuff this week. We thought we'd catch you guys up on all of it. So again, yeah, thanks for joining us. But yeah, let's start with Galaxy S9, S9 Plus. Did I say Galaxy S8 just a second ago, or did I say S9?
Maybe.
I don't know what I said, actually.
Oh.
I can't keep track. They're the same phone, apparently. So,
Yeah.
EvLeaks, Evan Blast, posted this morning what appear to be press images, press renders. For those not familiar with how that works, when new phones or new products come out, the companies always put together like renders, like official renders that show devices they can use to send to the press, to post on websites, whatever, with press releases. That's what these images look like. They allegedly show the Galaxy S9 next to the Galaxy S9 Plus. So, there's no like confirmation that these are the real deal. Evan obviously has a pretty good track record for this stuff. I'd imagine he's not going to go live with images like this and say like, this is it, unless he's pretty damn sure. So I think we'll take his word for it that these are the Galaxy S9, S9 Plus. What do you think? I mean, have you had a chance to look at these much?
Yeah, I've looked at them a little bit, as much as there is to see, right? We've only seen the front.
Just the front, yeah.
So there's not too much to look at considering there's so much display. But I guess the big takeaway for me, at least, is that it looks a lot like a Pixel 2 XL.
It looks exactly like a Pixel 2 XL.
Yeah, whereas last year on the Galaxy S8, S8 Plus, also the Galaxy Note 8, Samsung was very good about cutting down on the amount of bezel we had on the sides of the display on the left and right. Whereas apparently in 2018, the bezels are getting a little thicker, much like a Pixel 2 XL. I would say maybe just from these renders themselves, these do look a little bit thinner than on the Galaxy or the Pixel 2 XL. However, I feel like this is a good thing because I don't know about anyone else, but the siding, say if you dropped one of these near its edge or anything like that, I mean, it's a very fragile design. And so there's not a lot of forgiveness in terms of, depending on how you drop it, you could totally just total your phone. So I think maybe Samsung maybe took that feedback, because I'm sure countless thousands of people probably, broke their device by dropping it or whatever. And they said, you know what, maybe we'll try and help sort of make it more stable or stronger because of a drop. I mean, that's just my only guess. But other than that, it looks like a Pixel 2 XL. You've got a crap ton of sensors on the front top. I'm assuming face unlock and all that stuff. I mean, because Apple last year gave us Face ID or whatever it is. It's Face ID, right? That's Apple's.
Yeah, everything's something ID, right? Touch ID. Face ID.
So I could see Samsung definitely, doing that and making it serious. However, I mean, we're pretty positive, given other renders we've seen of the back sides, is that the fingerprint reader on the back will be parallel, like in line with the camera, not horizontally, but vertically, sitting underneath the camera. Single camera on the S8, dual camera, we believe, on the S8 Plus. So they're changing it up as much as they can while keeping that same, I guess, sort of aesthetic and design that we know and love. I guess we love it. I guess it's just sort of, it just looks so much like a Pixel 2 XL. It's like, okay, I know this phone. This is cool. But
yeah, I mean, I looked at it this morning. Started putting together some stuff. Like we put a comparison of the S9 to the S8. And then we also did another comparison of the S9 to the Pixel 2 XL and V30. And when you look at it next to the S8, the S8 actually looks like the more modern of the two. And I think it's just because, yeah, last year's design was so striking. There was no bezel, hardly any on the sides. Whereas this one, and I've seen some people argue that, well, it's just this bad render. Well, I don't think the render is bad, but they're saying, well, the render's just, it's hiding the fact that there's like curve to the glass. Well, yeah, but if you look at the Pixel 2 XL, it's similar. Like the 2XL has curves on the side.
Mhm.
And the curve starts like where the bezel is, and that's what this looks like it's doing as well. It looks like the exact same setup as the 2XL. So I don't think it's like a confusing render. I think they're just might be slightly more bezel, and there could be a number of reasons for that. Samsung is supposed to put stereo speakers in this phone, so if they wanted to do dual, some sort of special speaker setup, maybe they needed more room. I talked to the Post about ergonomics of the phone. I mean, like, I complained a lot about the Note 8 not being that fun to use, and I think partly because there was like zero bezel on the side. Like, it always felt like you were touching the screen, and if you get that little bit of bezel cushion on the side, it's a lot easier to use. Those like accidental touches and presses and things like that don't happen as much. So I think Samsung probably just tweaked the design. Like, I don't think it's a bad render, but it does look a little like they took a slight step backwards just because last year was so crazy forward in their thinking. And look, if it looks like a Pixel 2 XL, like, I don't really care. I mean, that's the phone I use every day, and I have no problem with the little bit extra bezel on the side.
Yeah, I think I know where people are coming from in terms of we've seen renders where it seems like companies are trying to be a little misleading in terms of renders, like how kind of screen real estate works but this is a straight on shot, just like we have of the other devices, and they're pretty, telling of what the actual design is going to look like, especially if it's coming from Evan, Ev Leaks. We pretty much trust his source. He hasn't really given us reason to doubt that this is the phone. So I'm pretty confident that this is it. We can see that there is a dedicated Bixby button on the left side underneath the volume rocker. No surprise there. As much as we want Samsung to kill Bixby and just get rid of it and just adopt Google Assistant, that's probably not going to happen. If you think that
it's just there's also the stupid Bixby on top of it.
Right. If you think the bezels are a little larger because Samsung has implemented squeezy size like we have on the Pixel 2, I could be, but I wouldn't put money on it because, oh yeah, squeeze to activate Bixby. Nah, dude.
Yeah, there's a button for that.
Exactly. So I think it's cool. The only problem, of course, is that it's Samsung and that the software is going to be a lot different than what we probably have on the Pixel 2 XL. Of course, it's not going to be stock. It's going to be Grace UI or whatever, the Samsung Experience 9.0 or whatever the heck we're calling it. So that's unfortunate, at least, in my eyes, just because Samsung, they did good. Like when they reworked, I'm just calling it TouchWiz. That's just what it is. When they reworked TouchWiz into this new UI, it was pretty good. But then they've kind of fallen back into this hole of throwing as much on top of their software as they can, and it just feels like it's slow. It bloats, and it just feels like cumbersome, I suppose. It just feels like it weighs down the experience. It's not very clean, not very minimal. So that's going to be the difference, right? I'm sure it's going to have a fantastic camera, a crazy super AMOLED Quad HD display. It's going to be cool. But I guess
have everything, right? We know it'll be super water resistant, SD card slot, fingerprint reader, have probably the best display on the planet. The cameras will be stupid good, which we'll talk more about in a second. But like, it'll have everything. It'll work on every carrier. You'll probably be able to get it for decent deals because I'm sure they'll run some of those crazy trade-in. I mean, like, we know it's going to be really good. I think what you're kind of getting at is, I feel like you're already looking ahead and saying, God, this software is going to suck. And like, I feel the same way. I mean, I don't know if that's really where you're going, but I kind of like, I look at this one image and the front of it shows those two stupid icons that Samsung switched to last year. And I just went, and I looked at it next to the S8 and it's the same exact icons. And I'm just going, oh man, TouchWiz. Like, that was one of the reasons, like the Note 8, I just couldn't, like, I was with the Galaxy 8 for most of last year. And then we got to the Note 8 And I just went, I'm just so sick of this skin. I'm so sick of this UI. I don't love it. I don't like all these extra features that I never use. Like, I just got burned. And then like, and I think like in between there was probably because I was on like the OnePlus 5, which is clean. I think there was a Moto Z2 Play in there somewhere, which was clean. And then it was like I had to go back to Samsung and LG for a bit with the V30. And then the Pixel 2 came out, 2 XL came out, and it was like clean again. So yeah, the UI, even from one screenshot, just kind of makes me go, ugh. No,
It's
no.
it's painful, man, especially when it comes to software updates too. I mean, Samsung just finished up the beta process for Oreo on a lot of devices, and people want updates. Like, let's be real. At least the people reading our site, I would assume, or watching this live or later in their cars, driving home from work. These are the people that want updates quickly, and it's just not something we've seen Samsung deliver. Like they're timely enough, but it's not real fast adoption. It's not like I blame Samsung because they have a ton of devices to work with. They need engineers working 24/7 to push out updates, but damn, dude, there's just like better Android experiences. However, their hardware has been getting real good. Like their hardware is some of the best, and
Yeah.
it's hard to argue that. It's just if you want the perfect marriage of the hardware and software, then really Google, or say even like kind of, well, I can't say Motorola because their hardware is not top like grade A, but like Google definitely has like the best package with the Pixel 2 XL with the hardware and software. But I mean, Samsung, if they just rework their software a bit more, maybe tone it down or tone it back a bit, like a ways, a lot, then maybe people could get more on board with this. You know, it's just every complaint I see about Samsung in the comments, say right now in the live chat, it's all about the software. It's like the software sucks, or it's slow, or what, it's bloated. You know, Samsung really needs to take that to heart and rework what they're doing.
The thing is, like, they're still Android kings, and so they don't
They don't
care.
care. They don't
And
care.
most of the people that use their phones have probably used Samsung phones forever. They've seen the progression, and it's gotten miles and miles better, right? I mean,
Right.
it's so much better than it ever was previously. We're just like those Android nerd guys where we talk about the different software experiences from phone to phone. A lot of our readers happen to fall in that category too, but like Samsung people, they like it. They do. Like, you and I may not really like the Galaxy or Samsung Experience 9.0 or whatever it is that much. Um, I think Samsung people like this stuff. So just, I mean, like, you have to keep that in mind. Like, we rarely, as we're like, just give us stock Android. We'll just take this Pixel experience
Yeah.
every day of the week. But I think Samsung people like Samsung UI, unfortunately. So I just doubt it's ever going to change much.
Yeah, we all dance to the beat of a different drum, and that is totally acceptable, fine with me.
Just part of the beauty of Android, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, I think it's good. I think it's good. I'm excited. I think that we should get this out of the way now. Feel free to share your thoughts in the chat. But what are we thinking in terms of price? Because this year we're seeing, say if it's true, the Galaxy S8 comes with a single camera. Galaxy S8 Plus comes, of course, with a dual camera, larger display, of course, bigger battery. What type of price difference are we looking at? So real quick, I'll write this down so we can go back to it and declare who a winner is. But what are you thinking price-wise for S8, S8 or S9, S9 Plus?
All right, I'm just looking at Samsung's website real quick. So the S8 Plus right now is 825.
Holy Jesus.
That's the unlocked.
Right.
And the S8 is 725. Were they those prices? I think out of the gate.
Those haven't changed. Yeah.
Okay. And then the Note 8 starts at 950. I would say unlocked versions, I bet they bump it up like 50 bucks.
50 bucks.
I'm going 875, 775. That's my guess.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good guessing. Or, you know, yeah.
I was going to say 25 bucks, but they won't. That's not enough. They'll bump it 50, I bet.
Yeah, I could see I'm going to say 749 for the S9 and then 849 for the S8 Plus. Which may seem ridiculous, but I think they could get away with it.
Yeah. Now, that was my initial thought. I just have a feeling they'll get real greedy. Jump up
749, 849, and you have 779?
875, 775. So 50 bucks over what the S8 is.
875. All right. I got it logged and recorded.
This video also has it. But yes, so yeah, I'm saying 775, 875. You're saying 850, 750.
Yeah, people in chat saying 899 and 999. Oh, see, I mean that's up there, man. That's
see
up
it
there.
$799, $899. I could see that too. Although
I
they're
could
doing weird with pricing. Like 825 is kind of a weird number. Just like 950. Like I'm
mhm.
looking at the site right now. So the unlocked Note 8 is 950 and 0 cents. But like the S8 Plus is 824.99. Like so they're doing weird. They're kind of actually tough to guess. Keeping us
Yeah,
under.
Scott Washington, a regular contributor to our live chat, saying $8.99 and $7.99. Yep, a lot of you guys are locked in. So anyone who's saying that the S8 Plus though could be like around $1,000, I just don't. I think they're saving that grand for the Note 9, which will of course come later in the year. And I mean, because that's going to be the big daddy. That's going to have all the goodies and the S Pen, and then they can really get away with $1,000. But a phone that no S Pen, how could they charge $9.99 for no S Pen? So, all
So
right, we're
I could
locked
see
in.
the 899, 799, but I'm still going 875, 775.
It definitely sounds better, if they're. I mean, keep in mind they make these phones for $250, $300. I mean, there's plenty of wiggle room for them. They're not losing money.
No, they're not. Let's see what else. Just trying to see if there's anything else to take. Oh, so in the along with the images. Oh, well, let's talk about one thing. So we know when it's coming, or at least we know when it'll be unveiled, right? So they announced this week that the phone will be announced on February 25th at MWC. So this is the first time in a couple of years Samsung has returned to MWC to announce. Actually, I think since the S6, S7, and S8 had their own standalone events, I do believe. S6 did not, right? Or did the S7 also go to MWC? Maybe they took like a 1-year break. I can't remember. Anyways, they're coming back to MWC. So February 25th is like a day or so before Mobile World Congress, which is a big tech conference that takes place in Barcelona, Spain. So the 25th, they'll announce it. They'll stream it, all that stuff. But the teaser for it shows a giant 9. So we know it'll be the Galaxy S9. And then it says the camera reimagined. So the focus is going to be on a camera, which like a couple weeks ago, we had a supposed leaked picture of a Galaxy S9 box. And on that retail box on the back, it showed possible camera specs, and they called it, on the box it says the super speed dual pixel, which is pretty cheesy. 12 megapixels, optical image stabilization, and then it shows a variable aperture of f1.5, f2.4, which you kind of go, well, that's never happened before, but it actually has happened before. Samsung last year made a flip phone that was like stupidly expensive that I don't even know where you could buy the thing at. It was, I think, just in Europe, maybe Korea, China. I have no idea, but it was stupid expensive and it was kind of high end for a flip phone. It somehow had this same 1.524 variable aperture in it. So this actually has been, like, Samsung has done this with a camera before. They just did it on a phone that no one was paying attention to. And so now it appears, and when EvLeaks posted the pictures today, he also included a story through VentureBeat that he wrote that talked about that being the camera spec. So he's sort of doubling down on this previous leak of this box, saying yes, f1.5. So that's crazy. I mean, that's the widest aperture we've seen on a f1.5 is nuts. I think we got did we get f1.7 with the V30 last year? Was it 1.6?
1.7, I believe.
Yeah. So that's crazy. I mean, we're talking ridiculous low light. Get that bokeh at 1.5. I mean, like, I have professional lenses that go as low as 1.4, or I should say as wide as 1.4. On a phone, 1.5, that's nuts. So that's the other thing, is cameras are going to be a really, really big focus, which you need to do on a phone that may not be that different from last year's phone.
Did you just say as low as 1.4?
Well, the number's low, but
yeah, I know. Yeah, I like to give you a hard time.
Yeah. I corrected myself and said wide.
As wide. Yes, I know. It's a weird thing. Like, it doesn't even make sense, really. Like, if you think about it, like, the smaller it gets, the wider it is. I mean,
it's because the circle goes from here to here.
Try explaining that to the layman, like me. I have
so wide, so really wide. Yeah. Let all that light in.
Yes.
So that's the story. So we think, other than like Snapdragon 845, similar designs, we might have an upgrade in RAM and storage in the S9 Plus, which will change. But for the most, and then again, we might get those stereo speakers. But it's looking like the big focus is going to be on the super nuts camera that Samsung will probably try to put in it. So
If we've got some type of stereo speakers like that, I mean, that's legit. I'm excited for the camera. I mean, I just already assume the camera's going to be good. Like, I don't know if they really have to like impress me all too much. Like, I mean, but will it beat the Pixel 2 XL? I mean, or the Pixel 2? I mean, it's just incredible. Like, no matter what, you want to take pictures with it, and I love that. So, will the Galaxy S9 stand up to the test? Will they beat the Pixel 2 over on DxO Mark? That's the true question. The true benchmark for greatness. So we shall see.
well, what's going to be slightly frustrating is we're expecting the S9 Plus to have a dual camera, a regular S9 to not have a dual camera. So you're going to get two different experiences, which is annoying. You know, we've talked about this for years now. Like we loved it with the Pixel and Pixel XL because we got the same exact phone. One was just smaller, bigger, same spec. With the Pixel 2 and 2 XL, they look a little different, but the specs are pretty much the same. Like the camera experience is the same. Last year with the S9 or S8 and S8 Plus, it was that way. Same thing, same camera. And this year it's like they're going to change it, kind of go that Apple route, which is frustrating. Like if you don't want the big ass phone, the S9 Plus, you want the smaller guy. Now you're going to get one less camera, potentially a lesser photography experience. So that's a bit frustrating. And it looks like Evan noted that again today.
Mm-hmm.
He said a second 12 megapixel rear module. And this one has a fixed aperture. So they'll use it for bokeh or zoom or whatever. I like one of those things like we clown on dual cameras a little bit because Google has done some magic with a single camera. So I don't know that I see a ton of benefit in that, but whatever.
That's been my argument.
Yeah, it's just frustrating that people are going to have to choose. Like, do I want the dual camera or do I want a single small? Shouldn't have.
Well, people were already opting for the Plus just for the larger battery. So, I mean, I guess if you're getting that bigger battery and bigger display, you're sort of getting the bonus of an extra camera and extra functionality with it or whatever. Yeah. Excelsior in the chat was curious. Do you think Samsung Galaxy S9 will have VR stuff, or do you think the VR stuff will die out this year? I don't think it's dying out this year. I think we're seeing companies double down on what they're doing with VR. I know that, say, Plex is one of these companies that just released their own VR client or platform, you know, which I thought was extremely odd, but they did it anyway. So anything that you have stored on your Plex media server, you can now watch that in VR. Apparently, Google is the one who approached them to even make this new native VR experience. So I don't think and Samsung, you know, Samsung, they've put so much money into marketing their VR stuff. I don't think it's going away or anything like that. So I think it will support. I don't know if you're going to need a new headset.
Probably do a new headset. Yeah, I'm sure they'll just do it. They seem to do one every year now.
Yeah. And they're always such minor tweaks that it's really no big deal, I think, to their bottom line or like R&D purposing or anything like that. So no big deal. I'm sure there'll be a new headset, or maybe it's backwards compatible. I don't know. So I guess we'll find out. But I don't think it's going anywhere.
Yeah, I don't really think so either. I think they've all invested enough in VR, and especially like with these headsets, like Samsung's, I don't think they're that expensive to make. That's why they just hand them out for free when you buy the phone for the first couple of weeks or whatever.
It's all plastic.
For down as low as like $99. Yeah, it's like all plastic with some glass lenses in it and a touchpad. I mean, there's not a lot going on in there.
Oh.
So I and like the content is there. They've got this like ecosystem. So yeah, I would say they'll probably give us just a new Gear VR this year. They seem to.
Thank God that the Galaxy phones S8, S8 Plus, etc., support Daydream now as well. So you can expect probably the Galaxy S9 as well to support Daydream, which means you're open to also Google's ecosystem of VR, which is of great benefit. Because if you were relying solely on Samsung and their, like, you know, family of developers or form of developers or whatever, then you may be waiting for a lot of experiences. But because you got Google backing it as well, we're just seeing like this huge amount of VR content available, which is great. Not for me because I don't do VR because I get sick. But I think it's great for those who enjoy VR.
Love that VR.
Yeah.
We're to the point now where VR's got a pretty big base going, and augmented reality is becoming a thing too, because Apple's heavily invested in that. Google's now saying we are too. So that's coming along, right? Like VR is there. Everyone's got headsets. You got Samsung's ecosystem. You got Daydream. You got that going on. But and then augmented reality. So yeah, like I don't think Samsung's going to ditch that.
The AR stuff, augmented reality stuff, I think is so much cooler. Like, I mean, just the stickers that we got, the Star Wars stickers on the Pixel 2 when 8.1 came around. Way awesome. Like, I love being able to throw a Porg into a scene, or a first order stormtrooper or whatever. I just think that's like way cooler for some reason. It's something you can share more, and that you can just easily throw in. And instead of VR, it's a very lonely thing. I was thinking about, I'm sorry, this
really is.
Yeah, this brings me back to the Plex thing, because with the Plex VR, you can actually add people into the scene and view what you're watching. So say you can have someone that kind of looks like a little Wii Nintendo avatar person sitting in the room with you as you watch something. And that really changes it, I think, because VR was so isolated in terms of like the experience, and you're very alone. But AR, it's just something you can kind of just share and everyone can see, like on your phone or do whatever. And I think it's a lot more fun than VR, but that's
partly why Apple a couple years ago said, no, we're not doing VR. AR is the future. And it's because you're still like, you're in like a real environment. It's more social, that sort of thing.
Yeah. So,
and yeah, it can be like a lonely thing.
Apple is right. AR is the future.
Could be right. The thing is, like, companies have been doing, like Google and what is it? Niantic Labs. What was the game they first got started that everyone loved?
Oh, you're talking about Ingress?
Ingress, yeah. I mean, that was AR. That was like the beginning, right? And that thing took off. And then Pokemon Go is AR. That's AR, like that sort of style of stuff. So anyway, I'm saying, like, don't give Apple too much credit here.
They deserve all the credit, excuse me. Okay, first of all, Scott Washington in the chat saying the camera stickers are super lame. Sir, you are super lame. Be gone.
Yeah, you can't say that, Scott. I give my Pixel 2 to my son, and he pulls up the Star Wars stuff, and like an hour could go by, and the phone gets all hot, and he's like, yeah, this phone's kind of hot, but I'm still playing with Storm.
My hand's burning, but I love these Star Wars stickers so much. I think they're awesome. They're kind of gimmicky or cheesy or whatever, but it can only get better.
Yeah, it can only get better. All right, anyway, so Galaxy S9, that's sort of where we're at right now. It'll be announced February 25th. We think it'll probably release on, well, I mean, the screenshots, even on these pictures from today, say March 16th, I believe, which is a Friday. 16th or 14th? 16th? I don't have the picture up in front of me anymore. 16th. So Friday the 16th, which makes pretty much sense.
Yes.
So, yeah, they'll show it off in Barcelona. It'll arrive a couple weeks later.
Nice.
We think we know most of it. It'll be interesting to see what they say about the camera, see what they say has changed in the software. I mean, these will launch with Oreo, I'd hope. And that's kind of it. I mean, that's nice. Like, I talked a couple shows ago, I'm not super excited so far this year about upcoming phone releases. So far, the S9 and S9 Plus, like, I'm not going, this is going to be awesome. Like, I remember the S8 was on the way, and we knew that Infinity display was coming. There was some hype there. This is like, cool, new phone. I know it'll be improved. The cameras could be nuts, which is exciting. Otherwise, I still like my Pixel 2 XL.
Yeah, well, when you're a hater, you just don't get excited about anything. That's cool.
And I am quite the hater these days. That's true.
I'm getting super hype.
I know. I probably will once we get closer. Just at the moment, I'm not just
closer. We're like we are a month away, good sir. It's time to get excited.
I'll try.
All right. Thank you.
Let's talk about LG for a second, though. LG, it's been a weird ride for LG since CES. So I think approaching CES, there was talk that LG might show off G7 or whatever at MWC, and then it was, well, no, they may be scrapping things. And then we got to CES, and it was like, no, the G7's coming. And then like the next day, it was like, no, we're scrapping everything. We're starting over, and then they also said, like, and we're also not going to go, officially said, like, we're probably going to change our schedule. And so we're going to release phones when we want to, that sort of thing. It's been a really confusing time. So anyway, this week they reported their earnings. And during their earnings, or right after the earnings report, which again showed another loss in the mobile division, Ed Gadget actually was writing up there the earnings numbers and mentioned this report from the Korea Herald that said that they were scrapping the phone or whatever, redoing the G7, that sort of thing. And who knows when it was going to come. And LG then like reached out to them and was like, this report's like inaccurate. The G7's on schedule. And then later on in their quote said, yeah, but we don't have a scheduled date for when it's coming. Like, we're not beholden to your schedules. Like, we'll release like when we want to. So So LG essentially like confirmed that they don't even know what's going on. Like they really are in limbo. It's kind of a weird thing. Like we're approaching what we just had. Hold on, sorry, someone's calling me. Like we just had CES. We got MWC on the way. Like companies are like gearing up to announce their phones for the year, and LG's is like they're going to be sitting on the sidelines. Is what it looks like, which is a weird place to be for a company who I know is struggling and they probably need to do something different. But to not have anything is a bit odd.
It's another, I mean, with them posting another loss from their mobile division while their appliances seem to still not dominate because Samsung, I think, is still the king, but still do well.
No, they make a ton of money from appliances and TVs.
Yeah, they do. But this is another miscalculation, I think. You don't want to let people think that you don't have anything to bring to the table that's new, exciting, innovative, etc. If Apple did this, I can imagine their stock taking a huge hit. I mean, just because the uncertainty, right? People don't like uncertainty. And especially if I'm a consumer, right? Like, how am I going to have confidence going into their next phone, knowing that, that this is what the best they could bring or anything like that? I mean, if you're a buyer, I just don't see yourself buying an LG device when you have a company like Samsung who seems quite confident in their ability to release a phone with awesome stuff. So LG needs to stop the madness, and just say, you know what? Here's the date. They may have scrapped, like you said, no one knows.
Like,
exactly.
Look, like you can't say in a single quote, the G7 is on schedule, that report was wrong, and then finish that same quote and say, we haven't set a date yet, and we'll release them when we want to. Like, you can't do that. Like we need to know. Like just tell us, right? And I know they don't want to. There's probably some investor thing they're worried about. They don't want to scare everyone, but just say like, look, our mobile division keeps losing. We want to get the next one right, and we want to do that. And so we're going to take our time. Leave us the F alone. Like I'd be fine with that, but don't do this. Like, no, it's fine. We're everything is fine. Well, it's not really fine. Like that doesn't work. Like give us some sort of answer. Look, I don't have any investment in this. I'm just saying like from LG, like it's not the greatest look where you kind of do the we're fine. And then like half a second later say, we don't know what's going on.
Exactly. You do that because people love transparency. And when you're transparent and honest, I think that resonates with people. So you do that. And I think that's best, right? I mean, they did real good. They did better with the G6, of course, from the abomination that was the G5, right? So it was a great step forward in the G6 and then even better with the V30. I thought the V30 is their most exciting phone ever.
Oh, yeah.
Sure. Well, maybe not compared. I mean, the G2 was also quite awesome back in the day, but and the G Flex. Anyway, moving on.
G Flex.
I think LG has a chance if they do, something like that, where they say, hey, look, here's what we need to do. And they have this new mobile president. So, of course, he's doing things. He's shaking it up a little bit. But like you said, I mean, the transparency would really be helpful if we knew what was going on instead of them giving these mixed signals like, we're not beholden to your schedule or whatever. We'll do it on our own time when it's good and ready type of thing. It's like a little not condescending, but it was a little weird. So you don't want to.
LG intends to focus on creating products that will result in meaningful results rather than launching new products on a schedule based solely on industry expectations and traditions.
Traditions, man. They are traditions for a reason, right? There's a reason why Apple hosts an event every year and releases their new phone. There's a reason Samsung does it, is because apparently it works. And LG, like, you just kept slipping, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, we're losing so much money that this tradition isn't working for us. But maybe you just need to fire everyone, not just a new president, but you need something. You need to bring something to the table. You can't just say, man, we'll do it when we're good and ready. Like, it's a tradition, man. Yeah. You better stick with it.
There was multiple issues with LG for a while, right? I mean, they went like Optimus G or whatever the hell it was called. And then like G2 and G3, which were all pretty good. And that like gave them a big boost and they were selling. And then the G4 came out and that was that plastic thing with the faux leather. Yeah. And everyone went, and that was at the time where a lot of people started moving towards metal. And so everyone's like, yeah, this still feels kind of cheap. And then after that, it was, the G5, which was terrible. And then the G6 and V30 brought it back. But it's like they had 2 years where it wasn't so good. Like Samsung, when they released the Galaxy S5, that was when they had their big drop where they got hit hard because it was a bad phone. Like it was cheap and plastic and ugly. And like you can't have multiple missteps. Like Samsung had one big misstep and it hurt. Like they had a couple of bad quarters and like all the Apple fanboys were like, we're back. And and LG's had it for a couple of years where they released a couple of pretty terrible phones. Not only that, they can't release a phone, right? Like they announce a phone, like a month and a half goes by. We don't know if you can buy it. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. Korea gets it first, then we don't know when it's coming, and they're not very good. So like they've had a lot of problems, I think, that have just like added on to the situation they're in. But by sitting here and saying like we're doing fine, we're not, like it's I don't think it's helping the situation the way they're playing this right now. Just say like, look, we're struggling. We're gonna get it right. Just we'll let you know when we're ready. That's all they need to do.
Yes, give us time. Someone from the reports we've heard, we do expect that there will be an updated V30 shown off at this year's MWC. So instead of a G7, we're going to get a V30 Alpha Plus or whatever. It's going to be a V30, the same hardware, but with added AI features. And then someone in the chat asked if I thought that was going to have an impact or something. No, it will have 0.0 impact. It's just
so they may not sit out MWC completely. We may get a new version of the V30. That is the report with special AI,
which is fine because I mean the V30 is great. You know, unfortunately, I don't think it sold all that much. Even though I think it was LG's best phone ever, like it's it's just not. There's something not clicking with people. It may be that people just have no idea what the heck the V30 is. You don't see too many commercials for it or anything like that. Not like a Samsung phone.
I've seen one, actually, yeah. I mean,
exactly.
Even Google phones you're seeing on commercials regularly. Samsung stuff always, obviously Apple, but yeah, I never see anything for LG.
Yeah, so LG maybe could take a page out of Samsung and Apple's book and Google's book and maybe do a little bit of advertising because the V30 is a great phone. However, V30 with AI, what? That's not going to do it.
If they really release a V30 with AI, I don't think we're going to write one story about it. Like, I'm sorry, if they go, it's the V30 with thin Q or whatever their AI thing is, like, I just don't care. Like, I'm so sick of the AI garbage talk. Like, every phone has AI in it at this point. They have for years. They're all computing on themselves. Like they all have artificial intelligence on some point. Google now had it. How many years ago was that? And every phone is, I mean, like you building in what you want to call AI just because you need to slap a brand on like some garbage app. Like remember when HTC released I think it was the U11 last year. They're like, it's got AI, and they built this HTC Sense app or something. I can't remember what the hell it was called. It was like a special app. And when it came down to it, that's all it was. It was like an app that wanted to be Google Now that was really terrible at it. And it wasn't even ready at launch. Like they had to ship the app later, and they called it AI. I think like the AI thing is just stupid marketing garbage. So I hope they don't do that because I'm going to make fun of them probably for about 2 weeks.
0.0 impact on the market, my friends. It's going to be a rough one for LG until we hear from them as to the G7.
I also wonder when, so like there should be marketing companies doing studies on this, that when you say the term AI related to a product,
you get shocked.
You know what I mean? Like, is the reaction, oh, that sounds interesting, I want to buy that? Or is it like, what? Like my reaction is almost always like, so like I don't care. I know I'm different kind of consumer, but when somebody goes, well, we've got this, it's all about this AI future. Well, it was IoT a couple of years ago, which is actually a real thing. Like everyone just saying everything has AI in it, like that doesn't get me excited. I can't imagine it gets anyone else excited either. But
hashtag Delta Pledge class. It's gonna be a fun one. Fun 2018 for LG.
MWC is apparently going to be Samsung's show. Like there was a report this week that Huawei was possibly skipping it for whatever the next P device. They always announce like the P8, 9, 10 at MWC. I think I saw that they were skipping it. We saw a report that HTC is skipping it, which HTC always skips. There's this report that HTC is not going to show the U12 at MWC. Well, they haven't looked. Yeah, like the last time they announced something big at MWC was the 1M9. And I think it looked so terribly. Like we knew everything about it. We all laughed at them on stage going, what are you guys doing? Since then, it's been like a Desire phone. They didn't do anything last year. Like HTC doesn't really do much at MWC anymore. They haven't for like 3 years. So Samsung is going to have, like, at first it was like, why is Samsung sharing the stage at MWC with all these other companies? And now it's like everyone else is running scared. Like no one knows what to do. Like Huawei's like, well, we're not in the US, so let's just disappear. And LG's like, we don't know what we're doing. HTC will they just do their own thing. Motorola will announce the Moto G6, which we'll talk about, but that's the G6. It's like a mid-range. So it's going to be MWC. It's going to be Samsung's show. Oh, Sony. Burtzer. That's right. Burtzer, I'm sorry.
Hello,
Sony
talk about the 4K.
Oh my God. Sony might actually refresh things.
Triluminous 4K.
Buy them here. Yeah, Triluminous. I love Triluminous. What a great word.
Yes, Sony will be there.
So I don't even follow the Sony beat at all anymore because they're so irrelevant. But
here they are irrelevant. Excuse, just to clarify, they're irrelevant in America.
I think pretty much everywhere. I don't think they sell anything. Like, didn't they try to sell off like their mobile division? I have no idea. They can't sell a phone. I know in Europe people think Sony's cool, but I don't think anyone actually buys Sony phones. Even there, I think few people do.
I don't want to speak for the good people of Europe or South America or anywhere. They may really like Sony phones, so
yeah, but they don't buy them. That's what I'm saying. But look, this could be the year that like it's okay, the design won't change, but if they just make more display, less giant bezel, which has been their problem, it could be kind of cool.
That's possible.
I mean, I don't want to, just hammer Sony like we do every time we talk about Sony. I just don't have high expectations. It would be if they could sell it on a carrier, somebody might get excited about it here. If they would stop shipping their phones here really, really late with really high prices, that would be cool. But otherwise, it's really hard.
Yeah, don't be mad at us. I mean, be mad at Sony. They're the ones who need to step it up. I mean, we report on relevant things and we talk about relevant things. So if we aren't talking about Sony, it must mean they're not relevant. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
Quite some years. I feel bad. I wish they were. Burtzer, you can't say who cares about carriers. Ask Huawei what they think about that comment. You can't succeed in the US if you don't have a carrier partner. You can't sell unlocked phones here very well. People just don't know.
No, they do not.
All right. So yeah, MWC is going to be Samsung's show, and they're just going to destroy everyone, whether you like that or not. That's just probably what's going to happen. What else is coming at MWC? That's like kind of it, right?
Well, I mean, of course, the big one's Samsung. So I think that that really is about it. Well, I mean, V30 with ThinQ. That's
wait to say V30 plus Alpha ThinQ or something like that.
Yeah, it's like V30 plus A or Alpha something. I don't know. It's dumb. Just the name, like in the idea.
All right. So speaking of possible other MWC stuff, Motorola. A week ago, we shared what we believe to be a bunch of upcoming Motorola devices for the first time. One being Moto G6 line. So the Moto G6, or I should say the G line, has showed up at MWC, I think, for a couple of years. I mean, I haven't double checked that, but I'm pretty sure every year around MWC we get like the G4 or G5, whatever. So G6 that we showed you guys is the first pictures of that. Motorola is certainly adopting the 18:9 display. They've slimmed top bezels on this phone quite a bit. It actually looks a lot like the Moto X4. Still has a fingerprint reader on the bottom front, but you can just see they're starting to trim everything up, really kind of fine tune the designs they've been working with for a little while on these two phones. We should also get these three phones. We're talking G6, G6 Plus, and G6 Play. Upgraded specs. They're just bumps to like Snapdragon 630s and 450s, that sort of thing. Yeah, I mean, they look fine. The Moto G line has always been solid. I'd imagine these phones will be pretty solid as well. So I my guess is that those will show up at MWC and you'll be able to buy them shortly thereafter. And possibly more interesting news, we showed you what we believe to be the first picture of the Moto X5, as well as the Moto Z3 and Z3 Play. We start with the Moto X5. It looks very similar on the back to the original Moto X4. But then on the front, we're talking like full display style like you've got on like the OnePlus 5T or Pixel. Um, but it has a notch. So it's got like an iPhone 10 notch up front with two cameras on each side of the notch. And when you look at the renders that we posted, it doesn't look like there's a fingerprint reader anywhere. So it's tough to tell. Like, is Motorola already following Apple and jumping that? No fingerprint reader. We're going straight facial recognition tech. One of the other things that's interesting is the UI picture on the front shows like this little white tab at the bottom. It doesn't show any navigation buttons, but there's like this little white tab, which is kind of what Apple does with the iPhone 10 because they have like gestures to get in and out of stuff. And Motorola's done gestures with their UI for a while. They used to do it on a fingerprint reader home button where you could swipe up or back, left and right to go back, forward, whatever. So it looks like they may be implementing some sort of gesture UI to navigate. Although I would imagine they'll probably also just let you put traditional buttons. But it looks kind of cool. It's certainly a more modern take on a phone from Motorola. And then finally, the Z3 and Z3 Play. We have what we believe to be the first pictures of those, and we don't have a ton of specs on them, but same idea. All display front, which has always been the problem with the Z and Z2 phones, is like they just had these giant bezels with not that big of displays while everyone else was changing, and they couldn't because they were locked into their Moto Mod design. So this is like that same shape and size of the Z and Z2, but the front is all display, possibly with that navigation swipe. And the Z3 actually looks a lot like a Galaxy S8. And then finally, we got to look at what may be a 5G Moto Mod, although we have no idea if it's real or just a mock-up, something to talk about for the future. We don't know if it's like coming or not. We don't know when any of these are coming. I would imagine they'll slot in when they did last year, like Moto X5, or I think Moto X4 was like the summer. Z2, I think, is also usually around that time. So anyways, what do you think? I just talked about the entire Moto leak series.
It's so extremely damaging for Motorola. No, I think, well, that's tough. I think it's cool. I'm not really very concerned about the G lineup just because, again, kind of mid-range, not really my thing. The X5 looks kind of dope. I guess even with that iPhone notch, like I've played with phones with notches and
they did something interesting though. Like they split on each side of the notch. Like one side has clock and battery, and the other side has like your cell connection and Wi-Fi icon. So do you think like below it there'll be like a notification area that like drops down when you get notifications? Because there's no room in this picture for there to be notifications.
Exactly. I don't know exactly how they're going to work that in, and I guess that's one question that everyone has. I think that might be one of the top rated comments in on the post itself. But you got two big cameras there. But yeah, again, I want to know where the fingerprint reader is. Is it embedded in the display? Is it, or do they think it's going to be embedded on the display? Is it going to be on the backside and they just put a place marker Motorola logo there or something? So there's a few questions I have regarding the X5. Other than that, like I'm cool with the top notch. Like I think it looks fine on the iPhone 10, no big deal. I think the Essential phone is fine with its little peak. That's all fine. As for the Z3, much more exciting than what we've seen from the original Moto Z and Moto Z2 Force.
Yeah,
Exactly. It looks fine. Like it looks pretty like a mature design now. It looks like we may have, this one especially, I have no idea about the fingerprint reader, but it looks like it could even be on the side. So where the power button is, or again, could be in display. Again, it feels like we leaked these so early that these could, just be sort of mock-ups as to what Motorola may want to do or what they're leaning towards. Really digging the idea of a 5G Moto Mod, if that happens. But other than that, it just seems so early in the game that it was early in the year.
Change though, yeah,
exactly, a lot of stuff could change. Someone, Francisco in the chat was saying logo on the front. No thanks. I'm actually fine because I actually like Motorola's logo a little bit, just the Moto or Motorola. I think it's a clean font, so that doesn't bug me so much. These are looking very mature in terms of design. Moto's getting better.
Yeah, should these be the designs that come out whenever the Z3 comes out? These look so much better than anything they've done in a long time. Now, interesting though, Z3 Play images we have do not show a notch. So like the X5 had a notch, that iPhone style notch. These two do not. However, some of the information we reviewed talked about notches in the future, as in this might be a new thing that Motorola does with most of their phones. And we're talking G7, so not this coming G line, but the next year's G line, the Moto E6, and the E5 will be out this year. So we're talking next year. And then a bunch of Lenovo phones that are on the way may have a notch as well. So like notches are apparently something that Motorola is fully into adopting. And I kind of get where they're going with it, I think, because they're using the notch, the size of the notch. So they give you more display, but they'll put those notification or those status bar icons, and then hopefully, and again, we don't know how it works, but I'd imagine there's going to be a drop down that'll show you notifications below that. Otherwise, I don't know how they're going to do it. But so yeah, like you said, it's early enough that it's tough to tell how much of this stuff will stick, how much of it may change. But it was a lot. Oh, and of course, there's smart AI. There's AI, Tim, with the
Oh, thank God. Okay, sign me up.
yeah, there's AI. But we got that 18:9 ratio on these, which is what we've wanted for an entire year now. We'll obviously still have access to all the Moto mods, and they'll probably keep coming out with more. So this is actually kind of exciting stuff for Motorola.
Oh, now you're excited.
I wasn't that excited about Samsung. This stuff at least brings Motorola. It's like when I wrote a piece like a week or so ago about how I was excited for HTC's next phone. Same thing with Motorola. And the reason, which is kind of a sad one, is that it's like they're catching up. Like that shouldn't really be exciting.
They're catching up.
Giving them props for catching up 2 years later, but I think that's probably partly why I'm excited.
Well, I mean, really, it all, for me, at least, I have to give props to Motorola for sticking with the Moto mods thing. I mean, they said they were going to support their mods for 3 years, and they're sticking to it, unlike LG, who, you know, is just like sort of, you know, just tinkering with mods. We're going to release these expensive mods that totally suck, and then anyone who bought them, sorry, you're totally screwed, because we're not supporting you, and we're not going to keep making them. You know, it was a total failed effort. So, man, at least I can give Moto credit for sticking with it, because at least their implementation of Moto mods way better than LG's, where you've got to, you know, take it out, plug it in, click, clack,
phone off. Yeah,
like what were you doing? I wish I could have been there in the meeting and just been like, you know what? No, you're fired. You're fired. Who came up with this? So Motorola, you click them on, they work. It's genius. So I know people who have Moto mods and they freaking love them. So I guess if Moto keeps with it and they're selling them, we have no idea. Of course, we don't know the types of adoption. Like if you buy the Moto Z, I have to assume you're buying Moto mods, but we don't know of what number of people or who. These mods are not cheap by any means. There's some expensive ones. Like I don't know how many people bought the Hasselblad one for like $250. You know, 3 people bought that, but I'm just happy that they're sticking with it. At least they're able to change up the design enough to still kind of change it over the years. And yeah,
these look like the best Moto Z phones yet by a long shot, I would say. Like they
by
look
a long shot.
They look pretty nice. Yeah, Motorola with that first year, the Moto Z line, they mentioned towards the end of that year how they had actually seen a spike in sales towards the end of the year because people were buying mods, and they were kind of bragging about how great that was. They were silent with the Moto Z2 line. So I don't know if everyone stopped buying because they said, well, this is the same damn thing as last year's. Why do I want that or what? But we didn't hear that much from Motorola in regards to the Z2, but this could spice things up. The only thing I would say though is since we're at that 3-year period, right? They said like, look, we're going to support the current crop of Moto mods for 3 years worth of phones. Well, we're there. So what happens next year? Do they kill the Z line because it just hasn't succeeded? Do they change the design? And then that means like, if you just bought the best Moto Z yet, all you've got is the old backwards compatible stuff, and then you don't have the new. This is actually kind of a tricky year for them in terms of that. Like, what happens? Like going forward, new phones. Like, if people are building Moto mods, do they go, well, we don't want to build a Moto mod for the old line. We want to build it for the new guy, the Z4. I don't know how they're going to play with that.
That'll be interesting. What I really want is I want to make the Moto X line great again. and I want them to reintroduce Moto Maker, and I want them to bring back the Horween leather options. I want them to bring back the bamboo. That was like the greatest time in Android where you could like customize your phone and get your initials on it or whatever. Like
Pretty
that
awesome.
was thuggish.
It
That
was
was
awesome.
that was so legit. And you know, the patina you get from the leather, aging and all that stuff is totally beautiful. I miss those. I miss those times so much. I miss those phones, like the original Moto X, man, or the Moto X Play, or whatever the hell it was.
Pure, yeah.
Yeah, those were awesome. I really miss that.
It's
And
back.
yeah, it's never coming back, but
So incredibly quickly.
it
I,
was so
I
cool
think
though.
we were hearing from people who worked at the Texas factory, the assembly
Mm.
factory. I think within about a month, they were like, yeah, they're already shutting down a couple lines and people are getting late. I mean, it was like immediately, like as cool as we thought that phone was. And I think they had a pretty big marketing campaign with it too. We heard from people working there almost immediately that it was not going well on the inside.
I don't know if they marketed it well enough to where like people like, oh, like I'm paying the same price as any other phone, but like mine has freaking leather on it, like legit leather from Illinois. It was just really, it was just awesome. It was totally different, and it was nice. I mean, I know we love that phone. We gave it phone of the year, like the original X, twice, like back to back. This is the only time it's ever happened, back to back phones of the year, and it had like the worst camera you could imagine, but we still did it. It was just because the experience, the harder, the always on display, like there was just so much good stuff going on. What happened to you,
That's like one of those
Motorola?
re-releases I would love to see. The Moto X2 re-released with a better camera. I'd
Oh,
buy that and a new processor. I'd buy that today.
yeah, no TIO map or anything like that.
And they
Whatever
could
the heck.
spread out the display just a little bit more. I'd buy that in a heartbeat.
Yep.
Good stuff. Anyway, so that's what Motorola's up to for the year, we think. Again, we weren't able to confirm that with like a second source, so we're putting like total almost rumor-ish on these posts. I mean, we've had some other people suggest to us that they're legit, but just keep that in mind. We don't have second, third sourcing on this. So, and we typically, as the wannabe good journalists that we are, try to do that, try to get confirmations on things. But there was just enough here that we wanted to share it with you guys and let you kind of decide. So.
Yeah, we try and stray away from the fake news, but
Apparently, in the world of fake news, you can have like 20 sources and it's fake news. But that's another conversation for another day. Google I/O. We know when Google I/O 2018 is going down, and it will be from May 8th through May 10th. Once again at the Shoreline Amphitheater in Mountain View, which is right next door to Google's campus.
boo.
Yeah, so it's been there the last 2 years. The first year was kind of a disaster, I think partly because it was like 900 degrees and all us sweaty nerds just burned to death there.
Hey,
And it just wasn't set up that great. They made some changes last year, and I think it went much better last year. I mean, location-wise, I know most people do not care about this. This is me and Tim just complaining to complain, but like getting to and from it is just not that much fun unless you plan to spend like every waking hour of that week there. Like, it's just we like to come and go. We're movers and shakers is what we're doing. And
whoa.
so yeah, logistics, it's just, but it's at Google's campus. I get why they're doing it there. They want to have fun. It's a festival. So it's there for third year in a row. We will do what we can to be there once again and see what happens. Obviously, we'll probably get like the first look at Android P. We were talking yesterday, like I wouldn't be surprised if Android Wear 3.0 makes an appearance. We'll see if they can revive that one last time. Who knows after that? I mean, they've been showing lots of stuff at I/O just about every year. So
Yeah, Google I/O. It's probably going to be hot as hell.
probably.
It's
If
tough, man.
if you want to apply for a ticket, registration opens February 22nd at 10 a.m. Pacific, closes February 27th at 5 p.m. Pacific. So how Google does this, has done for a number of years now, is they have a registration period. You get in there, type out all your info. You have to attach a credit card also, where they sometimes, do they pre-charge you? Like, do they put a hold on you for like a week?
They do.
Yeah. So they like you have to have the money ready in order to register. They will put a whole, and the tickets aren't cheap. I mean, last year I think they were over $1,000 if you weren't a student. If you're a student, they give you a pretty big discount. But so they put a hold, and then at the end of that period, they run through some sort of lottery, some sort of choosing system, and then they let you know, and then they charge your card for sure. So that's how it works. So February 22nd, if you want to register for Google I/O, and again, it takes place May 8th through the 10th. They
Hmm.
stream everything though, so like if you don't want to go, you're probably fine. However, if you do need to go with your device self, that you can talk to Google people one on one, and being there is actually probably a pretty good experience. We're press people, so it's a little different for us. It's not really that kind of event, but we still go, and there's usually stuff that comes out of it, like Android P.
Android P. All right.
So at CES, we saw the first phone with an in-display fingerprint reader. It was a phone by Vivo. At the time, it didn't have a name, didn't have a release date, anything, but we played with it. It was pretty cool. They announced this week that it is actually called it's really the name, the X20 Plus UD.
Yep.
What does UD mean? I mean, my brain wants to go to a certain place with the D there, but
Oh, I was thinking under display.
I think that's probably what it is. What a silly name, though.
Well, hey, they're silly. I mean, people are silly, man. We got to play with this phone, of course, at CES. Everyone knows that. We wrote up a big piece about it and how we were just blown away by its awesomeness. I'm a firm believer that fingerprint readers are not being phased out by Face Unlock and Face ID and all that stuff quite yet. Maybe in the future, when biometric stuff gets a little bit faster and better, maybe when you can actually start using multiple profiles on the same device. I mean, you can still only unlock the iPhone 10 with one face. You can't even do
that's actually the case. Like, what a weird deal, Apple. Come on.
Very weird. Yeah, very weird deal. So when we played with this phone, we're pretty sure it was still unnamed because they just said, "Oh, here, Vivo flagship." And I was like, "Oh, sweet, look at this. What's it called?" So the Vivo X20 Plus up for pre-order, or UD. Yes, UD. Vivo 20 Plus UD.
UD, yeah. What a great name.
Yeah, they have not confirmed as to what UD stands for. I'm just assuming it's under display because, of course, this phone features the under display fingerprint
But
reader.
isn't it in display?
Well, it's technically under.
I know, but it doesn't. Well, they call it clear display, in display, fingerprint reader. Like, no one's ever called it under display.
I haven't heard of that. I know the tech itself is
what that means, right? Is under display.
I hope. I don't know. I mean, I know the tech is called Clear ID from Synaptics, but yeah, I mean, who knows? Really, who cares? The point is, it's not coming to America. You can, if you want, if you're in China or near China, you can pre-order it and have it shipped to yourself. It's up for pre-order now. We'll ship, I believe, in February. Yeah, as Vincent points out in the chat, it could stand for ultra dope because it really is. We got to play with it at CES and it was awesome. Like, I thought it was really cool. Unlimited dabs. That's a good one too.
That's pretty good.
That's a good one. Good job, Scott. Cookies to you. So there it is. No idea how much it costs. Because I tried to convert it and Google was going a little haywire on me right now. I think it was like around $700 or something, or no, it was like 600. It's sort of mid-rangey compared to what we have, I guess, in America because it's running a Snapdragon 660, 4 gigs of RAM. Like the specs weren't insane, but again, who cares? It's not available here. But I wanted to point it out because it's awesome. And, you know, with Vivo introducing and implementing it on their devices, that only means that one day, hopefully someday soon, OEM that concentrates on America will implement it as well. And that would be so fantastic.
Okay, so
y'all are really going to like it.
Chat says, what happened with Qualcomm's tech? And I was actually wondering the same thing at CES, and we don't know. Last year in June, we wrote up that their new fingerprint sensor works under glass, metal, and water. So Qualcomm supposedly has some sort of tech. I don't think we've ever heard of it again. So I don't know, Steph, Mike.
I think the problem is Synaptics beat him to the punch. I mean, that could entirely be it. Maybe they have a better implementation, better tech, and they just said, you know what, we can't do what Synaptics is doing. Vivo's already, I mean, they got Vivo, so Synaptics won. Maybe that's I don't know. Maybe Qualcomm just has so much else going on. I mean, they're really focusing, I think, on 5G and all that. So
yeah, well, and like we said during our CES recap, they're putting together all these packages so you can just build whatever you want easier. I feel like they push. So yeah, 5G is a huge focus, and then they're also putting together sort of kits to get people going. I just looked up because it was called Qualcomm Snapdragon Sense ID,
Mm.
and it hasn't been mentioned in the world since it was announced last June.
Well, maybe we'll need to follow up with them on that. As proper journalists, we could do that. We could figure that out.
I'm just saying, oh, this is interesting. In the bottom of the press release, it says, this is actually, I'm like learning in real time.
All right.
So it works with the Snapdragon 660. And at the bottom of the press release, it says, with Vivo technology, Qualcomm will be demonstrating these fingerprint on a Vivo X Play 6. So it's like Vivo just wanted to get in real early. But why would they go with, Synaptics over Qualcomm? Maybe Qualcomm just abandoned it and Synaptics was the one, or maybe Synaptics was better than Qualcomm's. I don't know. But Vivo was involved there too.
Vivo, I mean, obviously, if you want to think about innovator, Vivo's the one. They're doing stuff that no one else is doing. Even though the X20 Plus is pretty much exactly like a larger OnePlus 5. I don't know if all you guys know, but it just seems like all phone designs really just come from one company, and they just sort of through the branches get sprinkled down.
Speaking of kits, I'm pretty sure China has a handful of factories that have smartphone kits, and you can just say, like, make me a phone. Here's my logo. Put these specs in it, and you go, okay, cool. Which is why everything that comes out of China looks the same.
Yeah.
Which is like when Kickstarter for a while, they were Google. I don't want to talk right now. There was a bunch of Kickstarter phones that people were trying to make for a while, and they all kind of look similar. It's because those people were just going to China and going, make me a phone for cheap, and I want to tell everyone that it's got this super unique feature, like it floats. And then, that they were just like kits basically. So silly.
I better not have been a knock in my Comet phone, man.
Comet phone. My boy's a Comet.
If
you haven't looked up the Comet phone, you guys should just Google like Comet phone Droid Life and read the history on there. It's been a couple years, but I look in every once in a while. They're worse than Saygus, if you can believe that. They are worse. They were a bigger scam than Saygus was.
Because they just attach like little buoys to HTC phones and say it's like a floating Comet phone.
The initial Comet render had like shark or like surfboard fins on it. Like, who wants a phone with fins on it? Oh god, the Comet smartphone is one of my favorite things ever.
Yeah.
Anyways, speaking of, all right, this one's probably not a scam, but the Red Hydrogen One smartphone. You guys know Red. They announced this phone. Red, the camera maker. They make ridiculously expensive cameras that are used in big blockbuster films and apparently on YouTube. Because I feel like a ton of, like, MKBHD is not the only YouTuber now with Red cameras. Like a bunch of them have them. Anyway, so they announced a phone a while ago called the Hydrogen One, and this week they provided a set of specs. And well, sort of, right?
Sort of. I mean, more details. Well, I guess you could call them details.
Because
okay,
I love this one. Yeah.
Yeah. So they were talking. They have working prototypes now in their hands. They have like serial number 001, 002. So they've got two phones that are apparently like 2 spec. Like this is it. Except they can't show it off or anything like that. Big deal. Anyway, so we've got this 5.7-inch hydrogen holographic display. When it's not in this hydrogen 4V mode, which is this holographic stuff, it's just a regular QHD 2560 by 1440 display. The way that Red has gone about trying to describe what the display looks like isn't the best. Like they definitely need to hire someone to explain or describe what it is. Someone who has a very solid command of the English language or any language for that matter, and it could just be translated to any language. That's fine.
Anyway, you can't just say there's no way to describe this. That's not a good way to describe something.
No, and that's exactly what they said. They say, quote, "There is no way to describe this. You just have to see it." So far, everyone that has seen it gasps, swears, or just grins. So, I mean, so people are seeing it, they're cursing, or just gasping, or grinning, just smiling. So I just assume with all of that being said that it looks cool. but they can't explain that why it looks cool or how it looks cool. I'm assuming, obviously it must be an aspect of the depth that it can display.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure it looks awesome. They just, they can't show you and they can't exactly tell you. So they can tell you that you might say, "Oh, damn," when you see it though, which is cool. $1,200 for that experience. So moving on, we also learned that it does have multi-channel spatial sound. So not only will it look good, it'll sound good. But they can't exactly describe how it'll sound. And instead, they just said you're just going to have to wait, and once you hear it, you'll know, or some more BS.
I love it.
Yeah. And then in this post that I'm reading off of, I wrote, I'm going to make a book, and it's going to be titled "How to Make Your Phone Sound Like a Kickstarter Scam," where you talk about really fancy features that you can't explain, but it's going to be awesome. But you just have to purchase it for $1,200. So upfront,
you should have put a shark fin on it.
should have put a fin on it. Moving on, they talked about carriers. So of course, everyone wants to know, like, is this just going to be unlocked? Are they going to have like carrier partners? You can't imagine like a $1,200 phone from a boutique camera maker is going to have like actual carrier support, right? Like, what carrier would possibly carry this? Well, apparently, carrier support for the Red phone is unprecedented and as good as it gets. I'm sorry, I can't. So it just keeps getting better with the Red phone. Keep in mind, these people have never made a smartphone. They've never gone through the certification process for carriers yet. It's as good as it gets, and it's unprecedented. I love it. So when you think unprecedented and as good as it gets, you think Samsung Galaxy phones, iPhones, where a phone will have all the bands on it. It's sold unlocked, or there's carrier variants that you'll need. But no matter what carrier you're on, this is as good as it gets. And so no matter who you're with, the phone should work. But with that being said, they did talk about release timeframes. So we are looking that unlocked pre-orders of the phone. So unlocked, I'm assuming GSM unlocked, will be available for like say AT&T or T-Mobile, and those pre-orders will ship before summer. But that carrier branded ones, or the ones that are working with the carrier certification and all that stuff, those will launch later in the summer. So last year when they announced this phone, they mentioned that Q1 was going to be the launch time frame. And keep in mind, when they opened up as soon as they announced it, it was made available for purchase or pre-order, so $1,200 plus, depending on which model you wanted. So you've been waiting to hear a lot about this phone. And so far you've heard absolutely nothing besides it's unprecedented. It's as good as it gets. They can't explain it. But when you see it, you're going to curse and grin and all that stuff. So, I mean, that's just Red for you. We know Red is a legit company. We just don't have any faith in them yet because they've never released a smartphone. And we've seen other companies try this before, and it's not as easy as it looks. So hopefully Red is like, yeah, whatever. I mean, they're just hopefully they're just brushing this off. They're like our insults or our jokes about it. They're just brushing off and like, yeah, you guys will find out. Like when we launch this thing, it's going to be badass. And it may very well be, because Red cameras, of course, are great. So it's not that we don't have faith. It's just that we find it very funny and odd that, all these great features, but they can't explain them, etc. So,
I think I might be shocked if this phone ever shows up. If they make more than like 10, to just hand out to like a couple of their friends and talk about how it was just too hard to do.
Exactly. It's not easy, man. But when you have people hyping it up like they do, I mean, like, no knock at Marquez, of course. Like, I know he loves Red and all that. And again, like I said, Red is a legit company. We have no reason to believe that they won't release this phone, even if only 10 people or 50 people or 100 people buy it. I mean, there is no reason for you to own this phone unless you also own, say, a Red camera and stuff, or just doing ridiculous filming and all this stuff. So they also talked about, real quick, they talked about social media partners because, of course, you're viewing this 4V content on your phone. You also want to be able to have other people see it as well. It's so awesome. You want them to curse and gasp and grin and all this great stuff. So answering whether owners will be able to share 4V content captured on the device, Red says, absolutely. We will be able to announce our social media partners pretty soon. You will not be disappointed who is supporting Hydrogen 4V. big dogs. So big dog social media partners will be announced soon for the Red phone. I swear, like, I've already seen a couple of people crack the joke in the chat, but it's very like Trump-esque, right? I mean, we got huge social media partners, the biggest.
There's no real details other than unprecedented.
Unprecedented.
Think solid.
It's so solid. Yeah. So the phone is great. We don't know anything about it. So
this just I mean, if it wasn't Red doing this,
screams.
oh my, I'd put this right next to Comet as like the ultimate in smartphone scams. Number one, they asked when you plop down 1200 or 1600, because remember there was two versions, like there was a 1200 and like a 1600. They took that money from you right away. Like it wasn't like a pre-order. I just got my name on the list. Like people pay, like at least I don't know if this is the case for most people, but at least one of our readers did that, and he's been trying to get his money back. And he said it's kind of been a pain because they don't really want to talk over the phone. It's all like email stuff. And he's like, I don't want to give my credit card number. Like it seems like it's kind of been a pain in the ass, but people like invested in this and they were told it's going to ship. They said it's expected to ship in Q1. And we got 1 month into Q1 and they're like, we don't know how this carrier thing works. Like, did you ask anyone how hard it is to get carrier certified? Saygus is like 4 years into this process. Like, yeah, guys, making a smartphone is really, really hard. And so now they're like, we're at the mercy of carriers. And it's like, then why did you tell people Q1? Like you had no idea when you announced this phone, what the hell you were doing. It's just, it's a pretty bad look. And I'm sorry, but they deserve to be mocked a little bit for this stuff. Like you just explained, like you went down like this list, like they put this forum post out there that describes all this stuff. And it just reads like, it kind of reads like a cheesy fake Kickstarter, like unprecedented, this thing. I mean, they should have just put in here, like the phone floats. I mean, like they could have just put everything in here from like the Kickstarters we've made fun of for all these years. And I would have believed that it was like a fake cheesy Kickstarter thing.
Yeah, I mean, they're already talking about carrier certification. We have yet to see it go through the FCC. And we all know, given Saygus' record, that takes at least half of a decade to go through the FCC. So good luck, Red. But yeah.
So I just, like the specs, like it's like a Snapdragon 835, which is, fine. Like by the time it comes out, the 845 will be out. Like whatever. It's still a good processor. Has USB-C and it supposedly has a big 4,500 milliamp hour battery. It's got a unique look to it. Quad HD with some fancy display tech. I mean, like there's some things about it that sound fine. It just, you can tell these guys have no idea anything about building a smartphone, which is fine. They're a camera company. They make incredible cameras. I get that. But come on. This just looks so bad.
It'll probably be dope.
It's not going to be dope. Oh, man. Of course, they end with, if you pre-ordered, you won't be disappointed.
Well, there you go.
Good Lord.
We'll leave it to Red. I mean, again, they have given us no reason to believe that it's a faux phone or, it's scam or anything like that. I mean, Red is a legit, you've got the biggest movie makers in the world using Red equipment.
They did say Red, like they have 2 working phones or something, didn't they?
They do, like 2 working kind of machined prototypes that they can't show anybody and they can't take a picture of or anything.
2 real phones with no proof that those actually exist.
Well, that's another thing, right? You're Red. You're sort of a big company. At least you're taking a lot of money from people, and you do like a forum post, and like that's it, and just some words. Like I don't know. It's not enough for me. Like I'm not dropping my money on this thing. Hell no.
No.
I know MKBHD probably ordered at least 5 or 6, so I'm just waiting on his giveaway. If I really want one.
Just wait for the giveaway. Yeah, just wait for the MKBHD giveaway if you really want one of these things.
Yeah.
Someone in the chat, Guy, asked for a Saygus update since we're talking about Saygus. Right. So Saygus, you'll remember last year, big news. The Saygus V2 V squared hit the FCC. It was huge news after all these years. And their response after tweeting some really weird stuff for a while, they were tweeting future phone and what else were they tweeting? They tweeted some stuff about traveling. I have no idea. We just assumed someone hacked their account or bought it or did something. They tweeted some weird stuff. And then all of a sudden they kind of acknowledged with some retweets of some stories about the FCC passing. And then that's it. they replied to somebody who said, oh no, they just retweeted some guy that just tweeted lol at them. They haven't
Yeah.
said anything in almost 2 months, and especially since the FCC, like they've never actually acknowledged the FCC stuff. They just retweeted people's articles. So I have no idea what's going on with Saygus. I mean, I think they're just done. We've talked about this on air too, how like at least 1 or 2 of our readers have gone to the Saygus offices and they're empty. Like we can't confirm that. We've had, I think, at least one person, and I think somebody from like, I think it was Phone Arena tried to do the same thing, but they actually talked to them. Our reader said he finally stopped by and he's like, there's nothing there.
Yeah, well, I think what really hurt them was when their own local news, they were out of Utah, at least this office, and like their local news department went down, was like, all right, what's going on here? And nothing, like ghost town, and they closed up shop and I think went to Israel or something. There's something weird going on there. So we don't know. I don't think we care, but it's funny. It's a
Yeah,
laugh
at this
about.
point, we don't really care, and we've known it's been a scam for years now. But we like, don't you want some closure? Like, I don't want someone to necessarily get arrested, but like, I want some kind of closure.
Well, I kind of would want someone to get arrested or at least, banned from the tech industry or fined or something. I mean, there's got to be some type of fraud or like some type of law against doing this.
It's been pretty bad.
Yeah. Either way.
Anyway, we'll keep you guys updated.
We'll always keep you updated. Like, you don't have to worry about that. Like, if there is a Saygus update, we're always the first to report. So, breaking news alert.
Yeah. All right. This week we asked everyone if they're running Oreo yet on their phone, and pretty split. 51% of readers said yes. 49% said no. Our readers are obviously different than Google's. What does Google's numbers show on Oreo? Like 3%.
Oh, on Oreo?
Yeah.
0.7%
yet.
Is it even what?
Higher than that. Is it really only 0.7?
Yeah.
Oh my God, it really is.
Yeah.
I thought it was like 3% or something at this point.
No.
That's so bad. Jesus, Google, come on. It really is 0.7. So 50% of our readers are on Oreo, but the actual numbers are 0.7. So, okay, there you go. If you guys ever wonder why we talk about Google's phones all the time, it's because all of our readers own them. Half of our readers own them.
Yep. Smart people.
Disappointing. I had it in my mind as at least like a couple of single digits.
No.
Not less than 1%. It's January. What did you say? It's been 6 months since Oreo dropped?
Nearly 6 months. Yeah, like 5.5 months now.
Oh my God.
Half a year. I mean, that's good adoption. That's solid adoption. So when Apple is on stage later this year and says, look at Google, our competitors' latest adoption numbers compared to ours, it's laughable.
We think that the next Apple event rolls around, Google's Oreo will be at 1%.
Maybe. Because I'm thinking, so February is coming up here pretty soon. I think
drops to Oreo.
Yeah, I think when February's numbers comes out, we will be at a solid 1% for Oreo or 0.9. But
hold on. Breaking news. Scott says he called Saygus and someone answered.
What did they say?
You need to report back, Scott. Oh my God. Maybe he's like talking to them. I mean, we could have done that, call him. We just like laughing at them on Twitter. But
yeah, what are we going to say? Like, hey, this is Tim.
You guys still making that phone?
Yeah.
See, 2015, I think. So it's been 3 years since they first unveiled that thing.
I've touched a V2 squared. And
stopped by the booth 2 years ago.
Yeah, and they had one plugged up via HML or whatever into a TV, and I played a little bit of that jet ski racing game. It was awesome.
Yeah, see, so not to go back on red here, but Saygus was one of those companies that announced like dual micro SD slots and like their own special Wi-Fi transmitting thing that you were just talking about, except you had to like buy a module. I mean, it was like the way they described the V6 was exactly like what Red is doing a little bit. Like sunlight viewable screen, edge to edge borderless. What else did they do though that was supposed to be really fancy? They've adjusted. Oh, remember they were going to Harman Kardon sound in it. It's like, you're going to license that? Really? How can you guys afford to do that? Yeah, mobile beaming, wireless gaming and mobile beaming was one of the big things.
Yeah, there was no beaming taking place when I saw it. It was a physical cable attached to the device into the TV, so there was no beaming. Stop! No more beaming. It's a Spaceballs reference.
You were going to be able to multi-boot it from micro SD cards. They
That's
apparently created some special waterproofing tech, noise canceling tech, fractal antenna technology. I mean, they just went off on this V2 thing.
what
So
are they
Red's
doing?
kind of doing the same stuff.
Well, kind of. I mean, it's in the same vein, but I don't think the outcome will be the same, which is good. We'll see though. Q1's wrapping up here pretty quickly, at least for their
Or we
timeline.
called and then answered, I think, on them, or
Yeah.
we called and then hung up on them.
Yeah, we should do that on the next show. We will like have a third line and we'll call Saygus all together. That would be fun.
That
And
would
just
be pretty
chat.
fun, actually, and just see
Yeah.
if we can talk to. I can't remember any of their names. Anyway, back on topic. Oreo, 50% Droid Life readers, not a single 1% on the rest of the world. Not a good look, Google. I know it's
And
not all Google, but not a good look.
well, once Samsung starts rolling it out to their devices, you'll see it bump up to like 2%. I mean, Samsung pretty much is Android. So once they're all on Oreo, the whole world is on Oreo.
Or that 1% hump.
Yeah.
So we've been charting the numbers for a while, and they show adoption is slowing year by year. It just keeps slowing. Even though Google has gone to a yearly schedule, the adoption, it's slow. Like people don't pick up the newest version as quickly, and it takes longer for people to update it before phones are just outdated and gone. So that's just how Android's built. I mean, I don't really know what Google can do about it unless they start forcing everyone to just issue stock Android that they ship and support, and that's just not going to happen. So
I really want to see Bernie Sanders give a rant about all the Oreos going to the top of the 1% and just like, being pissed off that they're getting all the cream and the chocolate wafers while the rest of us have to deal with marshmallows and nuggets. Oh, that'd be great. Get him, Bernie. Feel it.
oh, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, Scott said he got nervous and hung up. That's pretty great. All right, final topic, Google Play audiobooks. I'm actually
Nice.
surprised this wasn't a thing, but audiobooks are now on Google Play. You can go buy all the books that are at least audiobooks. No subscription. It's not like Amazon's Audible.
Audible.
It is a subscription. This is just like go in, find a book you want, buy it, walk away, listen to it. And it's live. So you should be able to access it through your phone and then also on the web. You can cast them. It'll be in Android Auto soon. So you should be able to listen to this stuff like wherever. If you're playing it on your phone, then switch to your computer. It should pick up where you left off, that sort of thing. Apparently Google did it right. I don't think I've ever listened to an audiobook, so I don't know to tell you how this works or if it's cool or not, but it seems cool.
Oh, it seems awesome. Please excuse my ignorance, but I've never listened to like a full audiobook or anything like that. But I was curious. Like I've bought the digital copy of Neil deGrasse Tyson's latest Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, and then I also bought like a physical copy. But now I want to get the audiobook because he's the one who narrates it, and I think that's what really sets audiobooks apart, right? Like you can have the storyteller, and Neil is such a good storyteller. To have him read the book, and it's all a quick read regardless, but so that is one interesting aspect of the audiobook. Plus, like I don't have time to like sit around and like read a book. Maybe you do. I don't feel like I do. I'm too busy playing video games or on Twitter, so I'm just not a huge book guy. But now with this audiobook thing, I could see myself getting into some books if someone's there to read it for me.
Seriously, feels similar. I haven't read a book in I don't know how many years. I know
Yeah.
that sounds terrible, but I just like you said, I can't find the time to sit. One of the things that I complain about when it comes to books is that for my job, I sit here staring at words, reading and writing all day long. Like
Yeah.
the last thing I want to do when I get done working is go read more stuff. And I know like that's different. Like you can read for pleasure and find like, like topics or fantasy that you're interested in. I keep getting spam calls. The next subject we're going to talk about is the spam calls I keep getting. But anyway, yeah, like we do this really where we read and write all day long. Like when I get done, I want to go do something where my brain isn't focusing on text where I can, yeah. play with my son, obviously, hang out with my wife, drink a beer, watch some dumb thing on TV that's not reading or playing video games or whatever. I mean, it's just something different than reading more stuff. So audiobooks, maybe I'll get down with an audiobook.
Get down on it. If we commuted, that would be another thing, right? Like we just don't have like the same like life. Everyone's got a different life, obviously, but we just don't have that time to where we're like sitting somewhere for a certain amount of time where we can actually listen to something like a commuter.
Should see how long it'll take to listen to that Neil deGrasse Tyson book when you commute from your bedroom to your office. Like, see how long it'll take.
I'm not going to get very far.
Fired up walking across the hall.
Yeah, it's going to take it. I'm going to get 5 seconds every other, like 2 times a day. So I'll get 10 seconds in each day. It's going to take me a while.
Okay, a final topic. This is just because I just got like my 3rd call while being on the show. So I signed up for, I don't know if this is Project Fi, but last week Project Fi announced sort of their own unlimited plan. And they called it like bill protection or something like that. So how it works is you pay for up to 6 gigs of data usage. And then after that, they don't bill you for anything you use over that. And when you hit 15 gig, they will slow you down and throttle you, or you can pay to keep speeds fast above that. So I switched to give Project Fi some run. And I had to port my Google Voice number over to do that because Google Voice can't be separate from Project Fi for some weird reason. Anyway, since then, what I'm getting to here is I've gotten a number. I get more spam calls, like 5 a day, it feels like now, since I made this switch. And I've also gotten spam text messages since I made this. Like, this is the Google Voice number I've had for probably like 8 years. I don't know how long. It's something crazy like that. And I've never had it like this. Like during the show, I think I just got 3 spam calls all to my Google Voice number that, again, I've had forever, and I've never had like so many show up within such a limited amount of time. So it kind of pisses me off, and I'm about to just quit Project Fi anyway because I've done my testing. It's fine, but I'm kind of annoyed. Like, I feel like I signed up for Project Fi and then somehow my number got passed along and now I'm getting spammed.
Who are you getting spammed by?
Well, I always block the numbers, and when you're in Hangout, so that's the other thing that's really stupid is I can no longer use the Google Voice app. It forces everything through Hangout still. Hangout's like a dead app. Project Fi forces you to it. It's really annoying. But when you block someone who texts you on Hangouts, it like deletes the message and hides it. I'm sure there's a way I could find it, but I don't know. Frustrating, that's for sure. We'll see how it is when I port my number back off, how much of a disaster this will be.
Yeah, when I was using Project Fi, when it first fired up, I didn't have that problem, thankfully. Like, if my number was getting spammed like that, I'd be freaking pissed.
Yeah, I'm not really happy about it.
Yeah, so can't you just answer and be like, please remove me from your list?
No, I just block them. Because you can tell, like, they're in the Google dialer, like they show up as spam, right. The Google dialer will tell you that, so I ignore them, and then I hit block afterwards so they can stop calling me. But
you just keep getting them. They're calling back from different numbers. We're going to get this guy.
Yeah, we got you.
You're in our sights now.
Yeah. All right. That's all I got. You got anything else you want to talk about? Super Bowl in a week? Olympics in another 2 weeks or something?
Yeah, like you got the guess, or you got money down on Patriots or the Eagles?
I assume the Patriots are going to win because they just win everything.
Yeah.
And no, I do not like the Patriots at all. I just assume. I mean, it'd be great if the Eagles won, but probably not going to happen.
I don't want the not a fan of how the Eagles fans were behaving towards the Minnesota fans. So I'm sorry, but
stuff out of there, right?
Yeah, due to your lack of compassion for your fellow man, I've got to give it to the Patriots, even though I hate them with everything in my heart. Go Pats.
Funny how that works, right? Like, I feel a little bit of the same way. Like, I knew Philadelphia fans were obviously really passionate fan base for everything they're involved in, but yeah, the stories coming out of Philadelphia last week, not good after the win. The way they treated Minnesota fans. Yeah. I still think I can root for the Patriots, but it just kind of leaves me in this, like, I don't care. You're all
really don't care.
Or something.
Yeah. Jeremy Bittner, hi, by the way, in the chat, was curious when Oreo will come to the Galaxy S7. Boy, it's not even there technically for the Galaxy S8 officially. Yeah, it's been in beta for, like, again, half a year. So that should be coming soon, and then after the S8, I assume that's when they'll start pushing out to the S7. So I don't know, February, March. April, May, something.
Something.
I mean, there's no telling, dude. With Samsung, good luck. Get a Pixel.
Yeah. All right, cool. Any
Yeah.
last thoughts?
No, I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Stay safe, stay sober, most of all. Straight edge for life. But yeah, no, that's about it for me.
All right. Thanks for joining us, everyone. Droid Life. Peace.
Peace.